Welcome to our conversation at Arca Michael Studios. I'm here with my good friend Eric D, the broadcast extraordinaire.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so today we want to find out. You know, he is one of the, I guess, the big man behind Bahamian or Nuttin. You can find all the good music that all the other radio stations refuse to play. Isn't that true?
That's somewhat true. I wouldn't say that they refuse to play it. I would say that their formats restrict them from playing it based on the audience that they're trying to cultivate. You know?
The young people.
Yeah, the young people. There are radio stations that are trying to cultivate older audiences also, but they are not playing as much content, you know, as far as Bahamian music is concerned, as we are.
Wow. You know, I've had a conversation about Bahamian music, and it raised the question, why is it that I was speaking to some DJs, why do you choose, especially when you're checking, to choose to play reggae versus playing Bahamian music? It have enough sonic quality, it don't cost the people to jump up enough. I don't know, what is it?
I think that the music industry in the Bahamas and the musical taste of the Bahamas has ebbed and flowed over the years. I think that with the introduction of private radio back in 92, 93, as most people would know, I was involved in the development of a facility that is probably one of the powerhouses as far as radio is concerned and broadcasting in the Bahamas. I was very influential in the development of that. And I think that what we did in those years that I was a part of that was very strong. I mean, we built a very, very strong foundation. We took radio from what ZNS was doing prior to those years, which was a one radio station, and they played various forms of music to the benefit of the Bahamian culture. It made the music, it made people, I guess, more well-rounded. They liked a lot of different kinds of music. We then took that and narrowed that down and created formats.
Kind of changed the game.
That changed the game. But to some respects in a good way and to some respects in a bad way. I can say to you that in the early years of that particular facility, under my direction, we had to force Bahamian music to be played. There were individuals at that time that really didn't care if it was played or not. But I saw it that we needed to do it. We needed to elevate the music. We needed to have better music being played. But we also had to make sure that it did play. There's no way that you could just say we're not going to play a significant part of the Bahamian culture. We're not going to entertain it anymore. I thought that was detrimental to the culture at that time. So we forced the music to play by creating categories for it to be aired. And since then, the music has changed. It has gotten better.
It's still evolving because you're hearing different styles, different fusions that are going on now.
Well, that's new. I mean, that's within the last, say, year to 3 years. We're hearing those different fusions come into what could be considered traditionally Bahamian sound. Because, that debate still goes on. What is Bahamian music? Yeah. And people ask me that all the time, given that we're doing 92.5 Bahamian or Nuttin. I try to take the stance that it is a sound that's being created in the Bahamas that you really can't hear anywhere else. Right. So when you talk about the rake and scrape sound, yes, it is old in terms of its roots coming from slavery, and variations of that can be heard in other parts of the Caribbean and in music within the U.S. throughout the South. But you don't hear that form of music given the same treatment as it is given here in the Bahamas in terms of rake and scrape. And then Jonkanu, yes, it is also an old rhythm. It is also an old music structure, but it's not given the same kind of treatment anywhere else as it is here in the Bahamas. Now we're seeing other influences, like you say, reggae and soca and all these other things are coming to play, and they're also having an influence on what is Bahamian music. How are we now going to treat rake and scrape? How are we now going to treat Jonkanu? How are you going to fuse these other things into it? There are going to be people who are traditionalists who are going to fight it, Then there are going to be the younger generation who are going to try to change it. And then there are going to be people who will say, well, maybe we can modify it. But we need to keep the essence of it. We need to keep the roots of it. So there are going to be different people are going to bring different sensibilities to what Bahamian music is as we continue to move forward.
Now, there's something interesting I'm seeing your brand do. You are now strategically placed in key places around the country, not just and not only just around the country, but now it's global because it can be tapped through your app, tune in, and various media sources.
Yeah.
So it gives Bahamian music another platform for persons to say, listen, we now have a global platform to put our music
out there. Yeah, and I think not knocking what the other radio stations are doing, to a certain extent, most of them have a global platform. But within that global platform, they're incorporating other genres of music where we are not doing that. Now, we do have some Bahamians that we do play that are doing, you have some reggae there and some soca there, and we do kind of incorporate some of the more well-known Bahamian artists within our format that are doing those things. And then we also have a group that is doing, rap music that is taking the young, the young people, young rappers, and mating them and putting them in collaboration with older performers to create a new sound. So we're doing those kind of things. And then, like you said, we're trying to create this platform so that we're everywhere you can get it. You can get it everywhere. You can get it on anything. I mean, as you know, and some people may not know, when you go through the airport and you hear Bahamian music, that's something that they weren't doing before. That's something that we went to them and we said, hey, let us put Bahamian music in the airport so when people come to the Bahamas, it's the first thing they experience. And when people leave the Bahamas, it's the last thing they experience. We go, sometimes I have to go do work at the airport, and I see Bahamians singing along to the music as they move through the airport. And then I see tourists who are now tapping their feet and enjoying that pleasantry that was never there before. So it is our goal to get Bahamian music in as many places as we possibly can. And in some instances, we will have to play other types of music, but we will also have Bahamian music in there and have control of it. We don't want to allow other countries to control what it is that is created here and define what it is that is created here. Because then most people know when you say to someone who is not Bahamian, what is Bahamian music, they think it's reggae.
We have a lot of persons that are now recording the music. They're trying their hand at the music. What would you say to a lot of persons? Because I know a lot of persons come to you with music and say, hey, this is my new track. And you'd be like, where did you record that? Like, I don't mash no guns, right? Some people just bring some crap.
Yeah.
And they very adamant that you play their material. What would you say to some of them before they even get to you? What are some of the things that you would?
I've been in this game in the Bahamas for more than 20 some odd years. And very influential in being the gatekeeper for one of the largest broadcasting entities in the country. And we had this struggle, we had this fight over many years, and we're still gonna have this fight because the artist in most cases should not be the one shopping their music because they're too emotionally tied to the music. You know what I'm saying? So you never saw Jeffrey Osborne or Michael Jackson, Kenny Rogers, or any of these people out there shopping their music. And in those days we had record companies. We had a different type of structure. Now that structure is somewhat gone away, and in this particular market, it never really existed. So the artists always were the people shopping their music.
Artists pretty much were trying to do everything. Record their own music, publish
everything. That's a whole nother ball game. But so they are emotionally tied to it, and sometimes they have their emotion. You have to allow them to have that emotion. But what they have to realize is everything that you make is not going to be a hit. Everything that you make is not going to make it to radio. We were just having this conversation the other day. If we could get into the vault and see what Michael Jackson recorded that we'll never hear, see what the Beatles recorded that we'll never hear, see what these major artists have done that we'll never hear, and we probably would think some of the music is good, but they had to make decisions as to what they thought at that time was going to get the most response, the greatest response based on what they were looking for.
Yeah, because I know for some artists they would record like say 50 songs, and then it's okay. Let's pick. Let's see what makes the album.
Right,
what
and
makes the
see,
cut.
and in this game, we get an artist who records one song, and then they're like, "Okay, I need to get some airplay. Why aren't you playing my song? Because it's not measuring up to the standard that we have set as." And I hate to use this term, but I have to. The gatekeeper. You know, sometimes someone has to make that decision as to what's going to be played on that particular medium. Also, keeping in mind that for it's a business, you know, and there's an audience you're trying to reach, and it is a business. Now, I look at the business in a couple of ways. You are to inform, educate, and entertain, but you have to set a standard as to how you're going to do that.
The Bahamian music on Nuttin just started. How many years now?
We came on the air on the FM dial November of 2015. We started.
You were internet based.
We started on the internet in December of 2014, and then it took a little while in terms of getting a footing in terms of where we were going to go and how we were going to structure this, and also we had to acquire a broadcast license.
I mean, before that, it was catching on. I mean, persons who knew about it on the net, they were using it.
Yeah, people were using it and playing it, but we wanted to take our concept was to look at how music was being consumed in this new age of the internet, and look in streaming. And a lot of people are streaming. A lot of people are using the internet in different ways, and a lot of the streaming stations had a particular format that they were following, a particular model that they were following. And we decided, let's follow that model too, but also put it on the FM dial. So if you come to Bahamian or Nuttin, you'll quickly realize we don't have any air personalities, because most streaming stations don't have air personalities. No. We do have commercials because, you know, we got to make a living, we got to pay for what it is that we're doing, but we're also concentrating on the music itself. So it's a radio station that you can listen to for a very long period of time. And enjoy what we're putting there, and then get a variety of Bahamian music, old, new, all at the same time. And, you know, you can leave it on. We have businesses around New Providence and around the Family Islands that put us on, and they leave us on all day long, you know, because, one, we don't have the interaction of air personalities. And people always come back to me saying, "Hey, Eric, you know, you were one of the major air personalities in the country with the Eric and Ed show. How is it that you've gotten to the point where you don't have air personalities?" Well, times have changed. Things have changed. And if we want to move forward, we have to accept change and embrace it. And that's what we've done. So we've taken 92.5 is our FM. We have a channel on Cable Bahamas, which is channel 990. We have the app, which is an Android and Apple for Apple devices. We have the stream. We're the only radio station in the world that live streams on YouTube. So whatever we do on channel 990, we live stream on YouTube. And what we do with that channel that is different from the other radio stations is all of our imagery, be it slideshow based, is imagery of activities and things that take place in the Bahamas. So if you put it on, you get an opportunity to enjoy the music. It will also give you the information that you need as far as the metadata, which is the artist and song title. Give you a little weather information from various places around the Bahamas, and then you'll get the imagery of activities. So we accept photos from different photographers. If we have artists, visual artists out there doing paintings, sculptures, and things like that, and they want to photograph their artwork, submit it to us. We watermark everything. You know, our goal, my partner and I, our goal is to make sure that anything that we put visually up on the screen, the person who created it gets credit for it. And they also get an opportunity, if somebody sees it, to buy their art if they can. And they will give you enough space that you can put contact information there, so that, you know, if you have art for sale and you want to get it out there to an audience, not the same audience you've been dealing with throughout the years, but maybe reach out to a broader audience or a new audience, it's an opportunity to do that. And we say to them, hey, you know, you promote that your art is on our channel or on our live stream, and people will have an opportunity to go see it.
How do persons get in contact with you to get their music or imagery?
All they got to do is send me an email at info@bahamianornothing.com, and it'll come directly to me, and we can communicate at that point. They can go on our Facebook page and leave a message there for me. I respond to those messages. Um, we using the technology, so anywhere you see it is where you can reach us. But bottom line is info@bahamianornothing.com, or like I said, go on the Facebook page, leave a message on our Facebook page, and we'll respond to you. Most of the artists know how to get in touch with me, and I get music from them on a regular basis, and we curate that, we listen to it, and when it fits where we want to go, if it meets the standard that we have set, then we have no problem putting it in our rotation. And then we also, with that, because we do private streams for different companies around New Providence, that music also goes into the private stream. So it'll be played at the airport. It'll be played at our locations downtown. So the music, once you get it to me, now the airport has a particular standard that it has to meet. So it can't be too risque and political and things like that. But once it meets the standard that any one of those particular entities have set, then we put the music in those particular locations. Our goal, our ultimate goal is for you to be able to walk down Bay Street from one end to the other and hear Bahamian music.
It's awesome. So thanks again for sharing a bit of your time with us. Our conversation. We'll be back.